Esther Rolle hated Jimmie Walker. Now we know the reason why. They were America's favorite TV family, but behind the scenes of Good Times, Esther Rolle and Jimmie Walker were anything but close. For years, fans wondered why Florida Evans always seemed cold to her on-screen son, JJ. Now, decades later, we finally know why Esther Rolle couldn't stand Jimmie Walker. Do you think it's important for cast members to actually get along in real life? Comment 1 for yes, or 0 if chemistry on screen is all that matters. And let's dive into this tense relationship. The first sight. Esther Rolle and Jimmie Walker first met on the set of Good Times in the early 1970s, but unlike many television castmates, their introduction wasn't warm or filled with chemistry. In fact, their connection was complicated from the very beginning. Esther Rolle had already been cast as Florida Evans, a character that first appeared on Maude, and she was being given her spin-off. When Good Times was developed, she had a clear vision. The show would be a platform to portray the dignity, resilience, and strength of a working-class black family in Chicago. She wanted realness, integrity, purpose. When Jimmie Walker came on board as Jay, the oldest son, he was young, fresh-faced, and full of energy. He came from the world of stand-up comedy and was eager to bring a big role. He was initially skeptical. She didn't see him as the kind of actor who fit the tone she wanted for the show. And as JJ, this character evolved into a larger, goofier presence, with the now famous catchphrase, "Dynamite." Rolle's initial doubts hardened into lasting resentment. They weren't enemies from day one, but there was never a spark of friendship or creative alignment between them. From that very first meeting, they stood on opposite sides of a larger artistic and cultural debate about what black representation on television should look like. For Esther Rolle, it was about respect. For Jimmie Walker, it was about entertainment. And neither one ever fully saw the other's perspective. So why did they become like that? Keep watching to find out. Tensions with Jimmie Walker. Esther Rolle, who is most remembered for her performance as Florida Evans on the trailblazing television series Good Times, was recognized for being a lady who consistently had a strong will and was not afraid to speak her mind, both on and off screen. Her very dedicated professional attitude occasionally resulted in personal difficulties with her fellow actors and actresses. Jimmie Walker, who played JJ Evans on the same program, was the target of her vehement anger, which was one of the most well-known conflicts that occurred during this time. The character of J, played by Walker, became an iconic aspect of the television show Good Times. He became famous for his slogan, "Dynamite," and embodied the role of a young guy from the Chicago projects who was street smart and silly. And there were moments when he was lazy. His style of comedy, which was full of pranks and colorful humor, was well received by a large number of spectators. On the other hand, Rolle, who portrayed his mother on the program, did not like the humorous attitude that the character took, nor did she like the way that it overshadowed the more serious and grounded portrayal of her role. She had strong ideas about the meaning of the program and the influence it might have on viewers, particularly African-American audiences. She believed that the play was designed to signify something. Rolle regarded the show from the beginning as a chance to provide a more respectable picture of black families, which was something that was frequently lacking from television at the time. To represent Florida Evans as a matriarch who was devoted, powerful, and caring, she had a significant emotional investment in the role. Jimmie Walker's performance as J, in her opinion, was a nuisance that diverted attention away from the show's actual promise. The slapstick humor and many quips about being a ladies' man that his character made were, in her opinion, a trivialization of the hardships and reality that black families face when they decide to live in the projects. Not only did Rolle believe that JJ's antics were implausible, but he also believed that they did a disservice to the complexity and depth that black characters might have on television. Not only did Rolle's views regarding the show's substance contribute to her anger with Walker's portrayal, but they also went beyond that. It was also the case that she had personal concerns with Walker. According to several tales from fellow cast members and crew members, Rolle was candid about her disgust for Walker's actions when they were working together on site. She found him to be difficult to deal with on a regular basis, particularly because she believed that his emphasis on humorous antics was distracting from the message that the program was trying to convey. Walker, on the other hand, was known to take a more easygoing and less serious attitude toward his profession, and he did not feel the same feeling of responsibility that Rolle did for the show's cultural influence to the same extent that Rolle did. The intensity of their hostility escalated when they confronted each other. It has been reported by others who were present during the event that Rolle made her sentiments known in a clear and unambiguous manner. It was said that she communicated to Walker in a straightforward and concise manner that his shenanigans were causing her to lose the job that she was attempting to do on the show. Although this was the case, Walker, who was a substantially younger person and was still in the process of creating his profession, did not appear to take her statement seriously. This only exacerbated Rolle's displeasure with him, leading to a growing tension between them over time. The representation of black people in Hollywood was a wider issue that Rolle grappled with throughout her career. Rolle's anger was focused on Jimmie Walker's role, but it was also a reflection of a larger issue about which she struggled throughout her career. As someone who was sincerely devoted to demonstrating the complexity of black life on television, Rolle believed that characters such as JJ were contributing to the perpetuation of damaging stereotypes about black people, such as the notion that they are dumb or lazy. Rolle believed that the program was losing its equilibrium between humorous and serious portrayals of good times, and that this was damaging to the overall message that the show was trying to convey. Walker's comedy abilities were evident, and his character drew in ratings. However, Rolle believed that the show was losing its balance between humor and seriousness. The personal difficulties between them became a recurring problem during the course of the series. The level of discontent that Rolle felt toward Walker was so profound that it ultimately contributed to her decision to depart the program during the later seasons of its run. Following her departure, she voiced her open disapproval of the path that the program had gone, specifically the manner in which it had placed a greater emphasis on the humorous aspects that were shown by Walker's character, to the expense of the more serious and socially aware narrative that had first distinguished Good Times from other shows. It was widely believed that Rolle's deteriorating relationship with Walker had played a big influence in her decision to quit the series, which marked the end of an era for the show. Rolle's departure signified the end of an era for the series. Jimmie Walker, on the other hand, had a different viewpoint of the relationship. He explained that his approach to comedy differed from Rolle's, as he aimed to lessen the tension with the audience in interviews he gave over the years. Although he regarded Rolle as a genuinely devoted actor who was concerned about the impact of the program, he also characterized her as being difficult to get along with at times. As far as Walker is concerned, his emphasis on comedy and lightheartedness was as valuable an addition to the program as her representation of Florida, which was filled with seriousness. Both Walker and Rolle had the same objective, which was to make Good Times a hit and to portray African-American life in a manner that had never been done before on television. This was although they had different perspectives on the subject. However, the fact that they had differing ideas about how to accomplish that objective resulted in a substantial schism between the two of them, a divide that remained to define their relationship long after the program was canceled. In the years that followed, Rolle and Walker would sometimes comment on each other's work. However, their public comments were frequently tinted by the residual tensions that they had experienced during their time on Good Times. Rolle, in particular, continued to express her dissatisfaction with the way the program progressed and the manner in which Walker's character was depicted throughout the show's run. Although Walker was enjoying the success of his catchphrase and the popularity of JJ, Rolle continued to experience emotions of discontent. In the end, Esther Rolle's hostility against Jimmie Walker might be interpreted as a reflection of her greater worries over the portrayal of black characters in Hollywood and the requirement for portrayals of African-American life that are serious and comprehensive. Although Walker's humorous role brought a sense of lightheartedness to the program, Rolle's portrayal of Florida Evans offered a more realistic and nuanced perspective on the challenges and achievements faced by black families. One of the distinguishing elements of Good Times, both on and off the screen, was the tension that existed between these two methods, which resulted in a rift that was never completely healed. Tension off-screen. Off-screen. The relationship between Jimmie Walker and Esther Rolle was famously tense, and it never truly healed. During the run of Good Times, their working relationship was marked by deep disagreements over the show's direction. Esther Rolle was committed to portraying a strong, realistic black family, grounded in dignity, struggle, and love. Jimmie Walker's character, J, with his exaggerated humor and catchphrase, "Dynamite," became a massive hit, but to Rolle, it represented a step backward, reinforcing stereotypes rather than breaking them. She often voiced her frustration, both privately and publicly, feeling that JJ's antics undermined the show's deeper social message. Interviews revealed that she viewed Walker's approach as excessively loose and unserious for the significant role the show could and should play. Walker, in contrast, didn't view their differences with the same emotional weight. Over the years, he's spoken about their strained dynamic, admitting that they had nothing in common and even saying bluntly in interviews that they didn't talk. He's described her as stern and overly serious, while he took a more lighthearted, comedic approach to the job. After Good Times ended, their relationship remained distant. Rolle never softened her view of the show's turn toward comedy, and Walker continued to credit his style with the show's popularity. In short, their off-screen relationship was cold, strained, and marked by mutual lack of understanding, and that never changed, even decades later. When Esther Rolle passed away in 1998, there were no public statements from Walker suggesting reconciliation or closeness. To this day, interviews with Jimmie Walker reflect that the emotional gap between them remained wide and unresolved. Emotional toll. The tension between Esther Rolle and Jimmie Walker definitely affected others on the set of Good Times, both emotionally and professionally. While the cast maintained a level of professionalism, the divide between Rolle and Walker created a noticeable strain during filming. According to multiple cast members and people who worked on the show, their disagreements weren't just private moments. They were felt across the entire production. Esther Rolle was a seasoned, respected actress who took her craft seriously. Jimmie Walker, on the other hand, was a rising comedic star focused on laughs and audience engagement. Their clashing approaches created an unspoken pressure on the rest of the cast and crew to pick a side, or at least tread carefully. Some crew members described the atmosphere as tense and awkward, especially during table reads or rehearsals where creative disagreements would bubble up. John Amos, who played James Evans, was known to agree with Rolle about wanting the show to remain grounded and socially responsible. He was eventually written off the show after also expressing frustration with its direction, proof that these conflicts had very real consequences. Writers and producers frequently found themselves in the midst of these conflicts. Walker's character, J, was a ratings magnet. Audiences loved him. But Rolle frequently pushed back, demanding rewrites, more serious storylines, and more focus on family values. The subsequent back and forth impacted the creative flow and caused disagreements behind the scenes about who the show was really for and what it was supposed to say. For younger cast members like Bernadette Stanis, Thelma, and Ralph Carter, Michael, the tension was confusing and, at times, disheartening. Younger cast members like Bernadette Stanis, Thelma, and Ralph Carter, Michael, looked up to both Rolle and Walker. But the lack of unity made the set less like a family and more like a harsh workplace. The conflict didn't destroy the show, but it fractured the heart of it. What began as a powerful, groundbreaking sitcom about a loving black family eventually became overshadowed by creative disputes and behind-the-scenes frustrations. And at the center of that storm were two very different artists, Esther Rolle and Jimmie Walker, who never quite found peace with each other. During their tense time on Good Times, a few individuals attempted to reconcile Esther Rolle and Jimmie Walker. But it wasn't easy. The divide ran deep, and it was rooted not just in personality differences, but in clashing values about what the show should represent. Norman Lear, the creator who listened, but couldn't fix it all. Norman Lear, the legendary creator of Good Times, was aware of the tension. He was sympathetic to Esther Rolle's concerns about racial representation, and in fact, she only agreed to take the role of Florida Evans under the condition that the show portray a strong, responsible black family. But when Jimmie Walker's character, J, became a breakout hit, network executives leaned heavily into the comedy, even as it clashed with Rolle's vision. Lear tried to walk the line, but as the show's success grew, so did the pressure to keep JJJ front and center. Ultimately, Lear was unable to fully reconcile the creative differences, and Rolle eventually left the show in protest. John Amos, a powerful ally, until he was let go. John Amos, who played Florida's husband, James Evans, was one of the few who openly stood with Esther Rolle. He also believed the show was veering too far into caricature and losing its powerful social message. Amos spoke up on set and behind the scenes, often advocating for more realistic storylines. But his willingness to challenge the direction of the show led to his termination after season 3. His firing was a clear message from the network. Ratings came first. After his departure, Rolle became even more isolated in her fight to maintain the show's integrity. The younger cast, caught in the middle. Actors like Bernadette Stanis, Thelma, and Ralph Carter, Michael, were caught in the crossfire. They respected both Rolle and Walker and often described the experience as emotionally complicated. They didn't have the seniority or power to intervene, but they tried to maintain a sense of unity and professionalism during filming. The producers, struggling to keep the peace. Behind the scenes, executive producers and writers tried to manage the friction, often by walking a tightrope between the two stars. They occasionally adjusted scripts or shooting schedules to avoid direct conflicts, but no one fully stepped up as a mediator who could resolve the underlying issues. In the end, while a few people stood by Esther Rolle or tried to ease tensions, no one truly succeeded in mending the rift. The conflict was too deeply rooted in creative differences, personal pride, and larger issues about race, comedy, and respect in Hollywood. And maybe that's what makes the story so powerful today. It wasn't just about two actors not getting along. It was about a woman fighting for dignity in a system that didn't always value it, and the toll that battle took on everyone around her. If you're fascinated by the real stories behind TV's most iconic shows, click subscribe now, because what we see on screen is only half the story. And now, if you are still curious about Esther Rolle's life, let's rewind with us to see if this tense relationship affected her path to success or not. Rise to fame. The stage was where Esther Rolle's acting career got its start, and it was there that she garnered critical recognition for her dramatic performances in a variety of Broadway shows. Her performance in the play The Almond Corner, which was written by the legendary writer James Baldwin, is considered to be one of her most memorable roles. Rolle was given the chance to display her great versatility as an actor and establish herself as a force to be reckoned with in the world of theater through the theatrical production of the play, which focused on the challenges and achievements of a Black church community. In the years that followed, she would go on to participate in a multitude of plays, frequently playing characters that were powerful and complex, so challenging the traditional assumptions of Black women in American theater. In the 1960s, Rolle's career began to take off, but it was her performance as Florida Evans on the legendary television show Maude, which aired from 1972 to 1974, that truly propelled her to the forefront of national recognition. The depiction of Florida Evans by Rolle, who portrayed the role of the no-nonsense housekeeper to the outspoken progressive Maude Findlay, which was played by B.A. Arthur, struck a chord with fans due to the fact that her character was dignified, forceful, and sympathetic all at the same time. She created a genuine and complex character, which stood in striking contrast to the typically one-dimensional parts that were given to Black actresses at the time. Her performance was a breakthrough moment for African-American women on television because it gave a character who was multi-dimensional and realistic. The character that Rolle played on the television show Good Times was the one that brought her to the forefront of public attention, despite the fact that her work in theater was innovative. The comedy Good Times, which made its debut in 1974, was about an African-American family who lived in Chicago and belonged to the working class. She was recognized for her kindness, wisdom, and power, and Rolle was cast in the role of Florida Evans, the matriarch of the family. One of the most innovative aspects of Good Times was the way it portrayed an African-American family that was not exclusively characterized by the challenges of poverty, but also by love, humor, and the ability to persevere through hard times. Rolle's portrayal of Florida Evans was not only respectful, but also approachable, and as a result, she became a well-liked character in households all throughout the United States. Due to the fact that her character was powerful, encouraging, and frequently the voice of reason, Florida Evans became one of the most memorable television matriarchs of the age. On the other hand, Rolle's time spent playing on Good Times was not devoid of difficulties. In the beginning, Rolle was a regular on the program, but as tensions increased between the actors and the producers questioning the future of the show, Rolle ultimately got disillusioned with the concept. She thought that the program was drifting away from the principles that had first made it so significant, and she wanted to portray people that embodied more than just one-dimensional cliches. She also felt that the show as a whole was moving away from those values. Rolle departed the program in 1977 because she believed that it did not provide her the opportunity to completely express her vision for the role the way she wanted to. It was a courageous step on her side to make this decision, which exhibited her dedication to maintaining creative integrity and her willingness to participate in work that was significant and reflected her ideals. Rolle's influence on Good Times was incalculable, despite the fact that she left the position. The final season of the program, which aired in 1979, was the one in which she made a brief appearance, and she once again brought her distinctive presence to the screen. Following the success of Good Times, Rolle maintained her acting career by appearing in a variety of films and television shows. During the 1980s, she had roles in a number of films, one of which being Driving Miss Daisy, 1989, which was a commercial and critical triumph, further consolidating her position in the Hollywood industry. Rolle, throughout her career, made it a point to take on parts that depicted African-American women in a favorable way, presenting depictions of power, dignity, and love. She did this by displaying these qualities in her performances. It is clear that Esther Rolle's ability was not limited to a particular role or genre, as seen by the wide variety of television appearances she made over the course of several decades. Esther's presence on the tiny screen was not only lively but also memorable, and she appeared in a variety of comedies and dramas that ranged from serious to humorous. She gave a sense of depth and seriousness to her guest appearance in The Incredible Hulk, which added emotional weight to the larger-than-life storyline of the series because of her performance. By demonstrating her versatility as an actor in the film Murder, she wrote, Esther was able to move fluidly between dramatic and mysterious roles while maintaining an air of easy poise and grace. Each appearance that Esther made on television served as a demonstration of her flexibility and range as an actor, further confirming her position as one of the most sought-after talents in the industry. Although there is no denying the influence that Esther Rolle had on television, it is also important to note that her contributions to the realm of film were equally outstanding. In movies like Driving Miss Daisy and Rosewood, Esther displayed her extraordinary talent and range, offering performances that made an unforgettable impression not only on the audience but also on the reviewers. Personal life. In the year 1955, Esther Rolle tied the knot with Oscar Robinson, who was also a native Floridian. There was a key turning point in Rolle's personal life when she was married to him. This event took place at a time when her professional life was only starting to advance. During their 20 years of marriage, the pair successfully navigated the challenges that come with being married while still meeting the demands of their own personal ambitions and changing life objectives. Although they divorced in 1975, their relationship was meaningful since it indicated a significant amount of time spent together and a history of shared experiences. In accordance with Rolle's discretionary and respectful approach to her personal matters, the causes for their breakup were kept relatively silent for the most part. In spite of the fact that the marriage had ended, Rolle continued to have a tremendous amount of respect for the life that they had previously constructed together. Although Esther Rolle did not have any biological children of her own, which was either a decision or a circumstance that she never publicly expanded on, she did play a mother role in the life of Shirley Mae Robinson, who she had previously been married to. While Esther was married to Oscar Robinson, Shirley, who was born in 1936 from Oscar Robinson's previous marriage, became a member of Esther's extended family. Shirley was born in 1936. Despite the fact that Shirley was not Rolle's biological daughter, her presence in Rolle's life brought a degree of family connection and obligation to the situation. It is not known how close the two stayed to one another after the divorce. Nonetheless, throughout the time that they spent together as a family, Esther was considered to be a kind and encouraging figure. Given Rolle's natural tendency for nurturing roles, as is evident by her legendary depictions of strong mother figures on television, it is probable that she welcomed Shirley Mae with warmth and care throughout the time that they spent together as a family. Esther Rolle frequently used her own personal experiences, such as the subtleties of her family life, with the emotional depth that she gave to her acting. Her legacy as a maternal figure, both on film and maybe in real life with Shirley Mae, continues to reverberate with fans and peers alike, despite the fact that she never had the opportunity to experience motherhood in the conventional sense. Legacy. Rolle was well known for her activism, particularly her fight for better inclusion of Black performers in the entertainment business. In addition to her work on film, Rolle was also noted for her artistic contributions. On a constant basis, she advocated for improved opportunities and responsibilities for women of African American descent. Furthermore, she made advantage of her position to express her opinions on many social issues, particularly those that were hurting the Black community. The 17th of November, 1998 was the day when Esther Rolle died away. She was 78 years old. Despite the fact that her passing signified the passing of one of the most significant individuals in the history of television, her legacy continues to live on. She demonstrated that African American actors are capable of being both powerful and complex, so breaking down boundaries that had previously existed for women of color in Hollywood. The portrayal of Florida Evans that she gave is a lasting emblem of the tenacity, love, and resiliency that characterized African American families during the 1970s and beyond. The accomplishments of Esther Rolle's career serve as a powerful illustration of the significance of being loyal to one's artistic vision and the strength of dogged determination. She was able to show that it was possible to attain success in Hollywood without compromising one's ideals, and she made use of her platform to elevate the voices of people who were frequently silenced. Not only did her work on Good Times have an effect on the television business, but it also left an indelible mark on the cultural environment of the era in which it was produced. Today, her legacy continues to serve as a source of motivation for actors and actresses, particularly those who aspire to play roles that defy stereotypes and highlight the complexity of Black characters. The work of Rolle serves as a reminder of the significance of representation and the power of narrative in the process of developing an entertainment industry that is more varied and inclusive. The contributions that Esther Rolle has made to both film and television have been crucial in establishing her position as one of the most significant actors of her time. Her portrayal of multifaceted and genuine African American characters was essential in paving the path for subsequent generations of Black women to participate in the entertainment industry in Hollywood. Despite the fact that she is no longer with us, her impact continues to be felt, and her incredible career will forever be recognized as a foundational figure in the history of American television and movies. Do you think Esther Rolle was right to speak out about the direction of the show? Or should she have gone along with what was popular? Let us know in the comments. If this gave you a new perspective, like the video, share it with a fan of classic TV, and subscribe for more untold stories from Hollywood's golden era.